Good morning to you. I'm Evan Millward with the WCPO Insider Report. I'm joined by multimedia producer Libby Duber, social media producer Libby Cunningham, Team Libby. And I don't know if you all at home saw, we put together a piece. It was a huge piece. We broke it out a little bit. We had an editorial about heroin. We have done a lot of reporting about heroin over the past couple of years here at WCPO, both at 9 on Your Side and WCPO.com. We have a whole section of the website dedicated to it. But this grew out of something we kept hearing collectively, all of us in the field, over and over and over and over again about how the response to heroin was falling on racial lines. And you two really spearheaded this effort. Talked to a dozen or so folks. What made you finally say someone has to talk about this?
It's a conversation that we kept having in different editorial meetings. People were telling us that they were hearing about this in the field, is that the way that heroin and the heroin epidemic, the response that it's getting is much different than the crack epidemic's response about 30 years ago. And people kept saying that, you know, it might be because heroin is really affecting the white population and crack affected a lot of the African American population.
And we even, I mean, Odell Owens with the city health department even kind of said, look, we need to acknowledge this. Mm-hmm. He was one of the ones you all talked to as well. Right. But you had some really powerful personal stories from people. What touched you? We were all pretty excited about the project. What touched you personally on this one?
The biggest thing for me was going to all of these interviews and talking to all of these different people who I have to imagine don't walk in the same social circles, but they kept saying the same things. Almost verbatim, they were saying the same things. They were saying, you know, this isn't being treated the same. We need to start looking at the cause of the problems and stop just treating the symptoms of this problem. And they just, hearing that repetition from so many different people was really, really powerful. I remember you said that when you first brought some of the interviews to me to look at too, and when we were putting the TV piece together on it, was you're going to hear the same thing over and over and over again. Some of the feedback has been very interesting as well. What have you heard from the people we interviewed and from the people who just saw the piece? The people we interviewed have been very happy that we were able to bring to light this issue. You know, we're looking at the shares on Facebook and the responses and different emails we're getting back and forth from people. They're saying, you know, this has been a problem for a really long time, and we're really happy that someone has shown a light on it. And I think that's really pretty important because it's an issue, like I said, I mean, you'd been hearing it out in the field, we had been hearing it in editorial meetings, and in going around and talking to different people from all different, we talked to Odell Owens, we talked to Dwight Tillery, we talked to a wonderful group of women in the West End at the Seven Hills neighborhood houses called Sister Link. They're all kind of saying the same thing, but sometimes you need someone to help amplify your voice. And the feedback that we're getting is that they feel like their voice and their opinion is being amplified by this piece. You know, and I'll say I had a friend of mine who didn't even know we were doing this until it aired, who actually sent me a message on Facebook and said, thank you so much for actually talking about this. We knew it was going to be a lightning rod a little bit because it's uncomfortable. But we should say, you know, I talked to an NKU professor, Lou Goddard, who does drug policy. It's not just a racial issue. There's a lot at play. There's class, there's power structure, there's a changing idea of addiction. We have a task force, a heroin task force, part of our editorial board. What have you learned from all of this that maybe we will see reflected in our work moving forward? I think that what I'm really taking away from it is that I always feel like I'm so informed. I feel like I'm really into the news and I follow things really closely, and to talk with all of these different people and hear them all say the same things, but have that same thing be something that I had never heard before. I know that I'm going to take Dr. Owen's advice and pay a little bit more attention to my neighbor. These are people that I share a physical space with. We don't live that far apart, and these are things I had never heard before. So I feel like we'll probably all start listening a little more and paying a little bit more attention. I hope the same thing. I hope that it really shows a lot of people that there are so many different sides, different stories too, and things that you might not have even considered before. And sometimes what it takes is hearing
another person's perspective, and I think that in moving forward with our coverage of that, we will be mindful of all the different perspectives of what's going into this.
And on my end, something Dr. Goddard said was we have to make sure that any changes we make when it comes to dealing with addiction, we make for everyone.
Yes.
And for any future drug epidemic that may come our way. Check it out. It's on WCPO.com now. There's an editorial. The Libby's put together a beautiful video. It's 5-6 minutes long.
It's really worth seeing.
It's powerful stuff. So thank you for letting me be a part of it and for reporting on it, something that a lot of people don't want to touch. That is this week's WCPO Insider Report.